Hi everyone, my name is Denali Drake and I'm the Advocacy and Community Engagement Intern for UNA USA. I'm here with Rachel Bowen Pittman, Executive Director of UNA USA, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and hello everyone.
So first off, how long have you been with UNA USA?
So I've been with UNA USA for about 4.5 years, and I've been in this position since this past June.
Great. So in this past year, the UN faced severe financial crises, putting vital UN programs and the UN peacekeeping budget at risk. How did UNA USA respond to this?
I think we responded really well. Our members activated themselves. I mean, there were several issues that happened throughout the year last year. We had at one point in the late summer a possible rescissions package coming from the administration where the funds weren't being flowed to UN agencies, but our members spoke up. They contacted their members of Congress and asked them to help out in the situation, and that was defeated. So that's one great example of how our members acted. And then another one is just throughout the year, they kept the drumbeat going by telling members of Congress that strong U.S. leadership and U.S. funding for the UN was very important. So we spent a lot of energy in engaging our members and making sure that they're aware of the situation that we need U.S. funding for the UN. And we had over 25,000 activations to members of Congress. They heard our voices, which was fantastic. And then the last thing I would say is that we host our leadership summit in June every single year. And this is a 3-day conference that hopefully you'll get to go to this year, where we bring members from all over the U.S. to come to D.C. For training and to meet with different officials to learn more about the UN. But most importantly, they go on Capitol Hill to talk to their members of Congress about why the UN matters to them. And in that situation, we had 500 members from all over the U.S., and we had over 320 meetings with members of Congress in their offices. So our members were very active this past year.
It sounds it. So has this issue of budget been solved?
Absolutely not, unfortunately. For example, this year alone, we're projecting that we will be up to $1 billion in arrears that we should pay the UN for peacekeeping. So we're going to continue to fight the fight. The president will talk tonight in his State of the Union and put together his plan. And next week he's going to drop his budget. And as in the past couple of years, he's wanted to cut funding from the UN. So we've been activating our members, encouraging them to start talking to their members of Congress like they did last year and tell them that we need U.S. funding because the UN puts together so many important life-saving work that just needs to be continued and to be supported. And we'll talk about later how members can get involved even during this time as they're watching this video on how to activate.
Absolutely. And what can we expect in 2020?
Wow, I'm so excited about 2020 this year. So first up is our Global Engagement Summit, which is on Friday, March 27th. And this is where we invite members from all across the U.S. And even if you're not a member, you can become one by joining us at the UN. So we have our Global Engagement Summit at the UN on March 27th. And once again, we will invite UN speakers to come talk to members of UNA USA about their important work so that they can get a sense of the needs of the UN and the importance of the UN. So when they go back to their communities, they can talk about all the things they learned while they were there, such as climate change, gender equality the importance of multilateralism. So that's just one thing that's happening in 2020. I just mentioned our leadership summit in June. So we'll host that again, June 7th through the 9th, where people will have the opportunity to have training on how to be a really good advocate and then go visit their members of Congress. Also, really exciting, it's the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. And so we will be participating in a lot of different events and activities. But one thing I'm excited about is Secretary General Antonio Guterres has this call for people all around the world to engage in global consultations or also called global conversations, where they're asking people, what are the issues that you have to address in your personal lives, in your communities? What are some issues that are going on in the world that need to be solved? in order for us to achieve a sustainable world. So we, UNA USA, will be hosting consultations through our 200 chapters across the US. And our hope is to have a consultation in all 50 states where we're gathering that information, and we're going to help participate in the Secretary General's call to action and feed that results and comments that our members gave back to the UN so that we can figure out some solutions.
That sounds amazing. And UNA USA works actively to inspire all Americans to take action and support the UN. And given the political challenges that our country faces today, what advice would you give to our network of chapter leaders in order to effectively advocate for the UN in their own communities?
Now, for them to be able to first listen to the issues that are going on in their community. So, I always think about the Sustainable Development Goals, and those are the 17 goals that the member states, all 193, agreed that they must tackle by the year 2030. And it's issues that we all face every single day. Things like climate change. We have gender equality issues in our neighborhood, in our neighborhoods or in our communities. We have issues with the environment, education issues, and so forth. So first, figure out what those issues are in your community, and talk about how you can have solutions locally, but how also it affects the global community. So I would encourage them to, one, do programming around that. They can do advocacy within their own community to advocate for U.S. funding for the UN, strong U.S. UN relations, by doing in-district meetings. So this is where they will visit their congressional member's office in their hometown, talk to their staff members, visit their congressional member when they come back home, invite them to UNA USA programming, so really engage them through in-district meetings, and also just in having them be a part of their own programming is another one. My favorite thing is we all love technology, so everyone can even take activations on their phones. If they text UNA USA to 738-674 right now, 738-674 UNA USA, they would text to, they can send a message directly to their member of Congress asking them to support U.S. funding for the UN. So that's another thing that they can do. And I hope they participate in the consultations for the 75th anniversary. And it's not just our members getting together by themselves. We want them to engage everyone. Get your local businesses, get your local politicians. There are other NGOs, there are religious institutions in your community. Bring everyone together and talk about these issues and what you think need to be resolved by 2045 in the next 25 years.
Absolutely. And so many of our current listeners come from all corners of the United States. What is one thing that you think unites UNA USA members?
Back to the Sustainable Development Goals, which, the basis of it is that we don't want to leave anyone behind. And I think UNA USA members are really passionate and caring about world, citizens and what's going on in their lives. So I think that's what's connected. And through that, obviously, is their passion for the work of the United Nations and being able to support their work through advocacy, through education, through other outreach, through partnerships with organizations within their community so they can work on these issues, but really just making sure that we are protecting those that are the most vulnerable in our communities.
And what can UN advocates across the U.S. look forward to this year?
Let's see. So we talked about the Global Engagement Summit. We talked about the Leadership Summit. There's some things else going on. It's also the 25th year for what we call Beijing and Platform for Action. And this is a conference that people went to 25 years ago in Beijing to talk about gender equality, and they came up with 12 points of action that needs to be addressed. So we're still dealing with a lot of that, so they'll also be seeing programming around that, and we're trying to bring the UN closer to our members. So I'm looking forward to building up relationships with additional UN officials and working to get them to not only come to our summits, but to do things like webinars so that our members who are unable to attend some of our face-to-face meetings still have access to talking to those people that are, to individuals who are in the UN or just doing a lot of great work, and being able to engage them so they can get excited about being strong advocates for the UN. So there are going to be, a lot of different things that will come up throughout the year that I think a lot of UNA members can be excited about.
Yeah, it sounds like there's something for everyone. And lastly, our fun question: if you had the opportunity to attend the State of the Union, who would you bring with you?
Wow. Well, I have to say my mom. I mean, I think she'll kill me if I didn't say that. Sorry, Dad. But really, I mean, she's been the biggest champion, and she is also a member of UNA USA. So she is also the one who is reading all the newsletters that we send out, doing advocacy alerts herself. And it's really funny just to watch her be more engaged in what's going on globally and talking about it at the dinner table. I know that she's been talking about these issues with her friends. So as a bonus to her for being such a great champion, I would take her to the State of the Union.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for taking the time to sit down and talk about all the amazing things UNA USA is doing, and we really look forward to see what happens in 2020.
Great. Thanks, Denali. Appreciate it.